Willkommen in Nürnberg. Ich bin hier am Fahrradreise ohne Fahrrad. Wie das geht, steht in meinem Blog.
Yo siempre le he visto una deficiencia, pero no.
So, hallo Leute, hier ist the report from my first day on my trip. Wow, das war ein Albtraum. So, every year I take my bike with me and I always pay to take it on the airplane. And every year it appears at the airport. Usually by the time I get through pass control, the bike is there. Except that didn't happen today. I waited nearly 2 hours at the airport. I talked to all sorts of people trying to find my bike. I talked to the people that handle the heavy baggage. I tried to talk to Lufthansa, who works with Condor, who I flew in on, and they weren't any help. And I finally found a woman at a desk that was marked for a different airline, but apparently that doesn't matter. And she did some looking and she said, it looks like your bike never left Minneapolis. So great. And she told me that the next flight, and other Condor agents told me the same thing, the next flight would not come until Wednesday. Keep in mind that today is Monday, so that's kind of a long time. My mom, like any good mom, started experiencing the traditional mother bear type syndrome and didn't want to see my vacation destroyed by whatever happened with my bicycle, so she started making some phone calls. And she tried calling Condor customer service, and they weren't any more helpful to her than they were to me. In fact, they kind of hung up on her on one call, apparently. And so she was able to get the name of the baggage handler in Minneapolis, and she tried to call them, but they didn't answer the phone either. So she went on Facebook, and she said, how does one get a hold of you and stuff? And finally someone started emailing her back. And long story short, while I was on the ice train to Nuremberg, where I was planning on starting my trip anyway, my mom finally got someone who could get her some answers, and by the time I finished supper, we know where the bike is. It never left TSA, apparently, because nothing is more threatening than a recumbent bicycle in a large cardboard box. So we're waiting now to figure out how they're going to get the bike to me, and I'm hoping that they can get it here by Wednesday. And if they can do that, then I probably still can do pretty much my whole trip as I planned. I just end up with an extra day in Nuremberg. So check in tomorrow to see what happens. So, guten Morgen Leute, wir sind in Kinding im Altmuhltal, which means good morning. We are in Kinding in the Altmuhl River Valley. This is where my route is now starting. It was supposed to originally start in Neumarkt into Oberpfalz, but due to the issue with the bike not being delivered until yesterday evening, that was no longer possible, unless I wanted to ride 66 miles today, and I'm on vacation. I don't do 66-mile rides on vacation. I actually have no idea what time it is. I think it's around maybe 9:45 or 10 or something. And yeah, it's muggy, it's pretty hazy, and we'll see how this goes today. The bike went together very quickly and easily last night. In fact, I think it took me less time to assemble the bicycle than it took TSA to approve the bicycle to go on a flight that it didn't actually make. I had to make one adjustment to the rear brake, which is a disc brake, and it always is a problem, and honestly it was a problem before I left home, and I probably should have fixed it then. But I thought, well, it's just because I didn't insert the wheel quite right, which is false, because I put the wheel in correctly last night and it's still rubbing. So I think I've got it fixed. Getting to the bolts for the rear disc brake to fix the mounting is not an easy thing when you have a rack on the back of the bicycle, which I now have. As in past years, because I'm using the Ortlieb panniers and I'm riding a recumbent and all the weight is now on the very back of the bike, it's a little wobbly up front, and that's normal. The exchange is I have waterproof bags and it's a lot easier to access my camera. So we'll see how this goes today, and we'll check back in later. Los geht's! We've arrived finally at the Altmuhl Radweg, and my first experience on it is going to be going uphill. Fun! Welcome to the first crossing of the Altmuhl in the Altmuhltal. It's a fairly small river despite being many miles downstream, probably closer to where it ends than where it starts. There's a few people out canoeing, there's someone in a kayak. And up ahead is Berg Kipfenberg, which you can't see because of the trees. We are here somewhere past Kipfenberg. And again, why we have to go up and everyone else can be down, I don't know. But you can see a little bit of the Altmuhl flowing through the valley here. It's not very flat on this area of the Radweg, but in the distance you can see Kipfenberg, and off the other direction is one other castle. Willkommen in Pfalz-Peint, ich denke. Und es ist Mittag. Und die Glocken läuten. It's noon and we're in Pfalz-Peint, and the church bells are ringing because it's noon, which means it's time to start looking for a bakery. I had a debate on a couple of portions of the Radweg. I have the bike line guide, and then I have GPS and all those other things. And I use a couple of apps that show the path. And bike line had a different opinion in this area than everyone else. Bike line is wrong. The Radweg planners were right. This portion of path is pretty bad. Riding through some sort of forest, past all of these little cliffs, and over along die Altmuhl. Das ist sehr schön. These guys have figured out how to have a nice day. They've anchored in the Altmuhl and they're just hanging out. katholische Stadt. Sehr katholisch. There's a Catholic university here. I think the only one in Bavaria or something like that. which ended with a continuous 5 to 6% grade coming up from the Altmuhl Valley. The view is nice, and maybe it'll be a little cooler, but I probably need to make sure that next time I book hotels, I don't bike them on top of the hill, or book them on top of the hill. And now your video update for the end of the first day of bike riding. Don't know if you can see, but I have an earplug in one ear right now. I took the other one out here for the video so I can hear if I'm yelling. It's been mostly a nice day. It was nice to actually be on the bike and ride, and the little bit of breeze from riding was especially nice because it was really hot today again, and the scenery is pretty good. There was a fair amount of variety. Even the path would sometimes go up and down, so it's not just all flat like most river routes are. Some of the path was through farm fields, some of it was through woods, some of it was along the river, some of it's through meadows, and yeah, it was nice. this evening has been kind of interesting. I had handpicked my accommodations for tonight, and I'd already reserved them ahead of time like I have all the other nights, and I arrived early since obviously I took the train and started at a different point on the Radweg because of problems with the bike. And when I got to my accommodations, the gentleman in charge was still in the shower, so his wife said, hey, wait outside here for a little bit. So I hung around for 15-20 minutes or something, and then he came out and said, we're sorry, but we have to leave for a family emergency, and I've arranged for you to stay in this other room in town. So he took me over to the other room, and it was kind of an odd deal. You go to a cafe to get your room, and then the room itself is in a building across the river on the other side of Sollnhofen. And once I got checked in, I discovered that the lock on the door doesn't work quite right. So I'm thankful this is a pretty quiet city, or not even city, just a little village. And it doesn't seem like there's really anybody else here in the building. There must be one person because I heard a TV when I came back from supper. And yeah, there's not really a good place for the bicycle, so I hope it doesn't rain during the night and get my bike soaking wet before I get on it tomorrow. And the weather tomorrow could be some thunderstorms. We'll see what happens. But otherwise, aside from the weird deal with the room tonight, and oh, by the way, it's in the hotel that I specifically was hoping to avoid here in Sollnhofen. Other than that, it's been a good day of biking, and I'm hoping the weather holds out tomorrow and that things start cooling off.